What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 27 of Meet the Critters. We're still rolling. This is going to be a solo one tonight. I am trying to do more solo podcasts where it's more directional of what actually is going on around here and Q&As and stuff like that. So we're going to try and pick up on those a little bit more. And also, I didn't do my due diligence this week and try and get a guest. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Always. Yeah, and I just didn't even try to get someone this week. I have been running around like crazy, and that is the other reason why I decided, hey, let's go ahead and do a solo kind of update show of what's going on. So we have just hit the ground running since we come back from SRF. We got back at 2 a.m. on Tuesday, and I was in the shop by 9:30 cutting up deer that day. So we have not stopped since we've gotten home. And it's been fun. What have I done? I've done in these 2 weeks, I've done 2 cows and 4 pigs. I think I've done in these 2 weeks. I know some people listen, they're like, that's not a lot. I'm like, well, with everything else I got going on, that's a lot. Oh, and 2 deer also. And yeah, no, it's just been crazy. I've had weird medical stuff. If you're wondering why I look like I had a stroke on this side, I somehow got a cyst in my eye, and that's been hell trying to figure all that out. It doesn't hurt anymore, but my wife said on the phone today, she's like, I looked at a picture of you in one of your TikToks, and you look like a stroke victim. And I was like, I appreciate that, honey. You're always there supporting me. That, and I pulled a muscle in my leg, and I am walking around like a 95-year-old man. For some reason, lifting wise, it's not awful. Like I can do fairly well, but it's like getting up or coughing. My ass is killing me. It's crazy, but we're dealing with it. We're having fun, rolling with the punches as we always need to do. Farm wise, everything's getting shuffled around soon. I think I mentioned this. I forget where I mentioned it, but I mentioned it. I was talking to someone about winter and trying to get everything figured out. Oh, more than likely it was one of my winter prep episodes. We just did 2 of them, 26 and 25. So go back and listen to those. Those are great. But we have finally set things up in a way that I am not too concerned going into winter. I know that's going to come back and bite me in the ass. Yeah, Rachel, you are absolutely right. That's farm life. But we have set everything up in a way that if it screws up now, it's because I am not doing what needs to be done with our setup and how everything works. Right now we have 3 paddocks that have pigs in them. Yeah, and they're all full. We had moved all the piglets to the winter pasture. They are absolutely loving it. They have a huge shelter in there. I think that shelter is like 10 by 12, something along those lines. Stays nice and dry. So they're in there. They're living their best life. They've already torn that paddock up completely, which I'm like, perfect. Go for it. It needed a good turning. We fenced that area in about 4 years ago now. Yeah, probably exactly 4 years ago now. So it's had beef on it this entire time. The ground's super packed in. There were sections of it that there wasn't grass or anything growing in it anymore, just because either the cows had chewed it down, the horse had chewed it down, or just from them standing there. It's not a huge area. And we at one point had, I think, 4 beef in there over the winter. They were fine. They barely would use half of it over the winter. They were real Sallies. They didn't want to go and get in ankle deep snow and deal with all that, which it works out because they're not running around. They're not burning calories. What's going on, Digger? Good to have you. But at the same time, it wears down an area pretty quick. It wears down and builds up an area. If you have 4 cows in a somewhat confined area, or it doesn't even have to be confined. But if you have 4 cows in an area and there's 1.5 feet of snow on the ground that's not already walked through, it gets shitty, literally, because they'll just walk the same path every day. If they have a solid shelter that they're not going to have to worry about being in the elements, they'll be in there if they're not eating. So it's, you could go out and look at the paddock and there would just be a path straight to the hay bin that would curve and go straight to the water, and then a line going straight back into the shelter. It was a perfect triangle. So having the pigs in there is doing that paddock so much good. Having the pigs everywhere I have them is doing an insane amount of good for the soil, for our future pastures, because all of those seeds that are in the seed bank are now getting turned back over. They're being exposed. And going into next year, we're going to have some crazy growth through all of these paddocks. So yeah, those are the piglets in the winter area. They haven't really tested the fence much at all, knock on wood. But they've been great. I had to switch out their nipples on their water just because before I put them in there, they had pulled all of the pipes out of it. There was I don't know what happened, but I didn't have the screws in the back, and they pulled them all out, chewed out all the gaskets. So I had to rebuild the entire thing. And when that happened, I did not pull the nipples apart and clean them out. So they were full of just tiny little rocks and granules and stuff like that, because I had to literally search the entire paddock to find all of them. So they were just in the mud, in the dirt. And when that happens, sand and things like that can get in between the plate and the rest of the nipple for when the pigs push on it, that'll separate and let water out. Well, if you got rocks and sand and things like that in there, it's not going to go well. You're just going to have a constant drip. We have been so balls to the walls and running around. I had chosen to just fill water every day. I didn't take the 10 minutes that it would have taken me. It didn't even take me 10 minutes. The 5 minutes it took me to go through, find the tools, because the tools are everywhere naturally, and just swap them out. So finally, I just had a day where it was actually, I didn't even have the time. I was literally in between working in the shop, on my way in for bedtime with the kids, and decided to do chores right then because I knew they weren't going up to the tub yet. And I'm like, I'm just going to bust chores out now because I know I'm going out back to the shop after the fact. It was 5 minutes, guys. If you have a project that's going to be a pain in the butt, just do it. It's going to suck just as much now as it is going to then. So that's all you're saving yourself from, is it sucking now. I say that, but also I'm dealing with it in the Hereford paddock, which is, well, good transition. We'll just move on to them now. The Herefords are in the back. I did the math at one point. That's a lie. I don't know why I lied to you guys. I told you I was going to be honest. I didn't do math. You all know that. I figured I would just come out with it. It's right around 3 acres is that paddock out back. And the Herefords have been tearing through it. They are looking fantastic. They are going to be going into the freezer probably the day after Christmas is when they'll go in, mostly because I have the help and I can torture my family with it. And they can't say no because they're family. A lot of them will say no. So they still got a couple months to go, and they are looking awesome. The hams and the shoulders on these Herefords are, I will never raise something that does not have Hereford in it. They are just such good pigs. These guys they're going to be, I think I did it out. They're going to be 9 months by the time they go in the freezer. So they are looking absolutely fantastic. And they have completely torn up that paddock. Again, going back to what I said about the winter paddock, that back paddock was saplings when we bought the property. Before the property was ours, it was a horse farm at one point. So that from what I was told, was the old horse pasture. And you can tell, um, there's a fence line in there that's completely overgrown that the pigs are taking care of a little bit right now. I'm honestly probably going to leave it and somewhat might reinforce it and try to do some more rotational stuff in there at a later date. Not worried about it right now. They can tear up that whole 3 acres. I don't care. And we have last year when we built our first paddock, it kind of encompassed a little bit of that horse pasture, and the pigs would kick up horseshoes constantly. I think I have probably like 5 or 6 horseshoes out of that pig pen, and it's not like a very modern horseshoe. These things are old, and ranging from like pony sized all the way to like draft horses. They're super cool. I'll try and get some pictures of those. I need to get better at Instagram. I know people get huge on it. It's a good way to promote everything. I just I don't have enough time. But when we bought the property, they were probably about 15 feet tall, like birch and aspen saplings. So they were just coming up everywhere through there. And when we originally built that pasture for the cows, and I wanted grazing space naturally. So I went through with my tractor. That's a monster. And I started at first being very like doing it the right way, going in, getting off the tractor, because I was also doing all of this solo, getting off the tractor, wrapping the chain around like 1 or 2 clusters of saplings, getting back on the tractor, pulling, going over, stacking, like going through it like the right way. And after about a day of that, I said, well, I'm done. And the bucket on my tractor is about 7 feet wide and heavy. And I just dropped it low and took care of the rest of the saplings. Those ones didn't get picked up. If you've seen any of my videos of that back pasture, you'd see there's still a ton of them laying down. But the pigs have done an amazing job of just taking all the rest of the roots out and pulling everything up. So now everything back there is completely loose. But we had cows again on that for probably about 3 years. So even with the grazing of the cows on that pasture, the growth that has come out of it has been absolutely incredible. Night and day compared to when we bought the property. So having the addition of pigs to go through, and they have just leveled complete areas that were divoted or just wonky. They've gone through and they've leveled everything. Definitely kicked up some rocks and stuff like that, but that's to be expected. I am very lucky in the fact that probably 80% of my property, you can't find a rock. In New Hampshire, that's literally unheard of. So a couple rocks here and there, I'm not too worried about. And the last pig we got is Tally, our old girl Tally. We're still trying to figure out. Oh, I need to jump back. The main reason I got into that story, the Herefords broke their water at the exact same time that the piglets broke theirs. So I was down to 1 working water, and it was a shit week. It really was, running around with buckets again until I got new gaskets. And I had one of the 100-gallon black water troughs, and we had just put nubs in the freezer, so I wasn't worried about that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to have cows for a long time, and we already have a second one for the horse, so it is what it is. We will I'll use that, because I had looked at it, I had seen other people do it with the gasket setups that I have. And I was like, yeah, that'll be fine. Easy enough to toss a water heater in it come wintertime. That'll be fine. Drilled my holes, got everything set up. Yeah. Gaskets don't fit. They fit, but barely. Using the same hole saw I used for all of my projects with these. It's just something about the thickness of the plastic. It's not the same. It doesn't work. So I'm filling that 100-gallon water every day. I have another blue bucket that I need to just do, but that one is more of like an hour and a half project that I just don't have an hour and a half to spend. Granted, doing a podcast right now to 4 people, but I appreciate all 4 of you, and that's why I'm here. So we need to get them a new water, but that is probably not going to happen for about another week or so. So I'm just filling water. So Tally is in our main paddock. It is split into two different paddocks, but at the moment I just have the gate open and she's got free reign of the whole system. We are still figuring out what our plan is with Tally. We're keeping her. That has been made abundantly clear by my wife that we are keeping Tally no matter what. And we will be keeping her for this season. We are going to breed her to something. I'm not sure what breed yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. We might go the AI route, even though I really don't want to. So I'm thinking, because we are waiting for Nino to get to sexual maturity and we'll be getting more gilts next year, that'll be his girlfriends for a while, that I'm just going to step away from my aspirations for my genetic testing that I want to do and see how the breed works and everything. And I'm probably just going to try and find just a regular either Hereford or some other production boar that I can use to breed her. And those will be our piglets next year. It might be it again. I'm trying to figure it out because I know I can probably get a manga boar, but at the moment, I think just with everything going on, I love my ideas. I love the piglets that I have because they are looking fantastic. They're probably a good 60 pounds right now and just beefcakes. They are freaking bulldogs. And you can see, like, a lot of them are exactly what I was hoping for doing this breeding style. There are some that just have a regular Hereford hair, and then there are others that are starting to get like downright shaggy. And it's like, that is a cool looking pig. That is probably what I get the most compliments on either YouTube videos or TikToks and stuff like that, is that the colorations on these things are nuts, and they absolutely are. And what's going on, Lisa? Good to have you. So going forward with Tally, it's going to be an interesting next year around this time will be interesting once we try to figure out what our plan is going forward. Again, more than likely we'll keep her because we'll need winter piglets as well. So again, she's going to be here for a while. More than likely, like anything, she'll end up going to freezer camp at some point or to another farm as a sow. And it is what it is. That's farming, and we'll figure it out. But for the time being, she has a home for a very long time. Our plan is going into this winter. I've already instituted the piglets. Piglets are in the winter pasture. That's where they're going to stay until they go to freezer camp. Those are good. Not too worried about it. We are going to be moving the Hereford piglets. The feed, or they're not piglets anymore. They're probably close to 180 pounds. They're getting chunky. And they will be moving up front. They will be moving to our first paddock that is right by the driveway, because they don't take the most maintenance, but in a smaller area they do, because they're going to destroy a bunch of stuff. But we're getting into winter. We have snow on the forecast next week. It was 75 today. Or no, it was over 75. I think at one point it was 77 today. And we were all dying. It was awful. Brian from the Lots Project, what's going on? we are in full fall mode. Like, absolutely. I've had the wood stove going. I was trying to hold out. I had to go put a sweatshirt on before the podcast because it cooled down again. So it's just going to be easier to have them up front. So we're going to have Tally in the back paddock of that system. But what's nice about this is I've done the due diligence with my gates and my paddocks that instead of having to corral the feeders into a trailer to get them out of that paddock and into their new paddock, all I have to do is open a gate into the boar pen, let them go in there for a day, close the gate to the boar pen, and open the gate to the front paddock. It's that simple. I don't have to chase pigs, really. Unless I'm in a hurry, I'm probably just going to leave both gates open and just let them figure it out on their own. And that is what's nice about when you actually take the time to do something right. Who knew? We do still have the horse. General is still alive at the ripe age of 97. I don't even know. I think he's 34. I think I mentioned it on a couple other podcasts, but I don't know if I mentioned it here. End of the summer, we had the vet come out. He was acting a little weird. And I was like, it's time. Yes. Everyone out there, he's a great horse. I'm just giving him shit because he's a pawn I have to deal with. And we had the vet come out. We had a mobile vet around here. It's pretty awesome. She shows up in a retired ambulance that she's outfitted for her mobile livestock and like veterinary stuff. And she shows up. I'm in with the kids. My wife's out dealing with her. And I put the baby down for a nap. I'm like, I'll take a walk out and see what's going on. So I'm standing there talking with them for a minute. And the vet goes, I'll be honest, he looks fantastic. I don't see anything wrong with him. He's old, obviously. His teeth are worn down. This, that, and the other. Everything you would expect from a 34-year-old horse. And she goes, but there's something different about him. He's doing fantastic. He could live another 10 years. And I was standing outside of the conversation, smoking a cigarette, but still listening. And I unknowingly, out loud, just went, fuck! They both look at me and they're like, really, asshole? And I'm like, I gotta go inside. Like, I was honestly upset. They did blood work and everything, and my wife hadn't heard anything back. So finally she gave her a call and she's like, I'm so sorry. I just got your blood work back. I've been running around. I've been meaning to give you a call. My wife goes, it's fine. So what's going on? Like, what's the blood work say? Because we were expecting something. We were expecting some type of cancer we didn't see. Something. The vet goes, I've been looking at his blood work and it's very odd. And at this point, when my wife's telling the story, I'm back to like, oh, maybe I have a chance. The vet then proceeds to tell my wife, it's crazy. I've never seen this before. His blood work is perfect. Like, absolutely perfect. If I took the age off of this sheet of paper and showed it to a med student, they would probably mistake it for a 1 to 2 year old horse. I'm crushed. I really am. It is what it is. He's a good horse. He will be in our summer paddock over the winter. That is another project I need to get done before the snow flies, is to get him some type of shelter made. He is a interesting horse. He has been out. He's a horse that's lived in New Hampshire for 34 years. He's used to the winters. Last year we tried to keep him in with the cows. And he started eating the hay he wasn't supposed to eat because he'll die. And he started eating the grain he wasn't supposed to eat because he'll die. So we moved him into our catch corral that's right off the barn. That way he had access to a nice dry stall, easy access for us. Like, it was what it was. He hated it so much. He just ran circles in that corral all day. And my wife looks at me and she goes, "You're an asshole for keeping him in there." And I said, "If I was an asshole, I wouldn't have told you about the grain he wasn't supposed to be eating or the hay he wasn't supposed to be eating. And then we came outside to a dead horse. Then I would have been an asshole." So we ended up moving him into the summer paddock last winter, and we didn't have time to get a shelter up. But at that point, he still had all the tree line, and he would just be in there. He'd be fine. And was able to get out of the wind. But now that we have turned that into pig pasture, he does not have a shelter to get behind. So, yes, Brian, but I don't have to live with the customers after the fact. So, I'm not killing the horse. Although we did get into that conversation, and I still don't know where we sit on it when it comes to that. When it comes time, and I would love to hear some feedback on this from the 6 people that are listening. I don't think that I should have to pay hundreds of dollars for someone to come out and put the horse down, because it is literally my job. That's what I do for a living multiple days a week. And my wife is on the factor of, if it's an emergency, if he breaks his leg, absolutely. But if it's a slow, like cancer or something, that we'll just have the vet do it. Again, we're going to pass that bridge when he gets there, but I kind of compare it to like if I was a mechanic and my wife took her car to another shop. I don't know. That's just kind of where I sit on it. Canadian Farmstead, horse salami. Yeah, he's on so much medication though. I'm not eating it. I'm not touching that thing. No way. So yeah, those are the handful of projects and stuff we need to get done. But again, I'm not too worried about it. It's more just picking up the property, getting everything set, rolling hoses up that I need to save. And again, shop side, we are cranking. We are just moving through as much as we can. We're getting close to deer season, which is that's a hellish 2 weeks. And I know I've mentioned it on here before. I take 2 weeks off for deer season every year. And by off, I mean I am not doing production animals. I'm not doing domesticated animals. I am only doing wild game. And a lot of that just comes from just some of the rules around hanging deer with beef and stuff like that. Again, I'm not going to say that because I'm on the internet, but it has never been an issue, but it's just something I don't want to be an issue. So when it comes to it, I've had to turn down a handful of deer customers, some of them being very good friends, and I've felt bad about it for sure, but I'm not going to get pinched for something possibly, and it's just not worth it. So rifle season starts in a couple weeks for deer, and it's going to be nuts. I was very lucky today. I got a babysitter for a little bit and was able to kind of deep clean the shop a little bit. I had an hour and a half and an empty cooler, which I haven't had an empty cooler in 6 months, which is a fantastic thing. I can't complain about it. That is a great thing to have when you're a butcher. But that being said, I haven't been able to do a solid deep clean, and the floor was getting a little crunchy. So I was able to really get that floor scraped and scrubbed today, and it feels so good. So the shop got a whole nice, good deep clean. And next week I'm jumping right back in. We got a low line Angus coming in on Monday and 4 pigs coming in Tuesday. So we're going to be cranking stuff out next week. There's hopefully going to be some cool videos. I am going to be doing a kind of more in-depth pig skinning video. The last pig skinning video I did was really good. Did really well. So we're going to do another one, and I'm going to try, and I know where these pigs are coming from. I know they're going to be great pigs. So it's going to be a good video to do demos on, or a good pig to do videos on. Sorry about that. And just kind of talk about the pulling technique that I do. I know Canadian Farmstead down here had some questions on pig skinning, so I am going to get into that. We'll just finish up these updates and everything. But yeah, deer season is going to be nuts. I think this year is going to be bigger than last year because last year was way bigger than the year before. My name's gotten out finally. I am the guy. I have gone from the new kid on the block that started and people would find me and it'd be like, oh, look at that. Let's give this kid a chance. And I am now gone to, I can't tell you how many calls I've already fielded of, hey, are you doing deer this year? So that is good to hear. It's a good feeling that we're finally getting there, but it's just a crazy week. I have already decided that I'm going to probably get out one day this year. And that's opening day. I'm going to probably sit till 10:30, 11, because usually I don't have anything rolling until about 10:30, 11. So I'm going to do my best to sit in my spot. I have not seen my stand since last hunting season. I have not checked the cameras since last hunting season. And my light just went out. That's fun. There we go. Hey. So we'll see. I'm not on the edge of my seat going, oh my God, I need a deer. That was me last year. Last year, I was like laser focused. I was doing everything I possibly could, and it just didn't connect. Didn't happen. I put in all the work, and it didn't happen. So now I'm going to do the exact opposite, and I'm going to walk out into the woods with nothing but my rifle and a knife and probably some snacks and sit till about 10:30 and see what comes along. I don't know. We'll see. I was not raised in hunting. I was not raised in farming either. But I have the feeling of I've cut up an untold number of deer. I would like one to be mine and not one that I hit with a truck. Like one that I actually shot. I don't know. It is what it is. But I'm also like, well, I shoot a lot of animals. I don't need that either. So it is what it is. We'll get one, or we'll get out there just so I can say I can. But I'm going to try and get as many deer through the shop as possible this year. I think we did about 30 last year. And again, for some people would probably be listening and go, that's not much. I do everything from like pulling it out of the truck to pulling it out of the freezer. And alone with two kids, that takes some guts, or not guts, that takes some time. So I'm shooting for 40. That's kind of what I'm going for. We'll see. And other than that, we're booked out straight till December, or straight till January, actually, because I need to get my pigs in at some point. So we're booked straight out. So I am just kind of flying. I'm just kind of coasting, getting all that figured out and trying to put as much stuff through. So Canadian Farmstead in the chat was asking about a more kind of in-depth explanation of pig skinning. I've done a couple of videos on this. I know I talked about it a couple times on the Renegade Butcher podcast back in the day, but I don't think I have had yes, snacks, even though you forgot the other quotation mark. Focus on driving, Brian. And what has Lisa got over here before I get into that? In my opinion, an emergency, or if it's a planet saved you dollar, I think it's easier. It's easier on the horse. Just send your wife and the kids to do some shopping when the day comes. Now, I absolutely agree. And from multiple people, the idea has been floated about just going for a walk in the pasture with my rifle and accidentally tripping. But it's not going to happen. So, pig skinning. I actually enjoy skinning out pigs. I know some people hate it. I think it's one of the easier ones to skin out. And there are multiple ways to do it. Like, it's like everything. There's more than one way to skin a cat. kind of an on the nose saying, but there is. I personally use a cradle that I've built out of PT like posts. It's just a small cradle. I am going to be building another one out of metal at some point soon, just to save my back a little bit. Yes, Rachel, horse sausage. Yes, I am going to be building a taller cradle to save my back a little bit. I am 6'5", and I did not build it high enough. So essentially what the cradle does is it allows the animal to lay on its back with both feet straight up in the air. All your organs and everything you could possibly nick if you're starting the gutting process are all pushed to the back. So I'm not going to say you don't have to worry, but your worry is less because everything's pushed down. And then the next process that you can do is hanging. You can hang the animal up fully intact, and you can make all your incision cuts as if you were skinning out a deer, and start working that way. I like the cradle method because it allows for gravity to do a little more work for me. And it makes when the animal is fully up a lot faster because I'm doing everything right now under the bucket of my tractor. Not super safe, but it's kind of how we're doing it right now. So I like to limit my time under that bucket as much as humanly possible. So when I skin out a pig, I'll take off all 4 feet. And there's a joint there, essentially this joint right here, that you're able to get into with your knife and just pop it off. You can take it off with a saw if you want. You're going to end up with a dirtier, messier situation. But you can do it. It's just easy enough to find the joint and learn how to do it. Once all 4 feet are off, I'll make an incision starting at right here at the jaw, right where the jawbone connects. I'll take my knife and I'll run it all the way down the belly of the animal to the butt. Just get it right to the bung. And then I will open up both hams. So I will branch off of the main middle incision and cut all the way up to my cuts where I cut the back legs off. Once I do that, I'll start on the back legs and I will pinch the skin directly behind where you cut the joint. And I do that because I'll take the skinning knife and cut a strip around that tendon. You want to be insanely careful around that tendon because if you cut that tendon, you now don't have a safe and easy way to hang that animal. So that is also why I'll make that cut, because it kind of takes that tendon completely out of the game of being able to possibly cut, because you've already made your first cut. Once you start skinning along that, it'll just fall away and your knife never comes in contact with it again. So I will skin out both back hams and work my way down the belly. And I completely forgot the name of my skinning knife, which I absolutely shouldn't. And I will put the link of it down into the description of this. And it is not on this one either. So I will put the name, the Amazon affiliate link to that one in the description of this video and in the podcast. But it is a 4-inch skinner. It's a smaller skinner than what I would use on a beef. And what this allows me to do is it allows me to take smaller sweeping strokes with the knife, which is better. You're not going to be gouging your bellies as much. And essentially what I will do is work my way all the way down to the front shoulders, which I do not make an incision on initially. I will skin around it as much as I can, and then I will take my skinning knife and I will basically skin it up to the elbow right about here. And what I will do is I'll work my knife and cut from the inside out. What that does is it kind of saves hair from getting on the meat. The less cuts you have to make into the skin itself, especially going from skin side in, will save the amount of hair that's actually on the carcass. So once you have basically skinned out everything, I'll skin out the face to a certain extent as well. Do not let your knife touch the pig's teeth. I thought it was kind of phooey when I first heard it. I thought it was about like bacteria or something. No, that will absolutely dull your knife for a day. Like you have to go out and re-stone your knife if you drag your knife across a pig's tooth. There is something about it, the density of it, how tough it is, that it will completely dull your entire blade. Brian asks, what about the butthole? I'm getting to it, Brian. Why don't you calm down? Just focus in on the drive. Just let my voice just kind of lull you and just have a nice, relaxing ride and calm the fuck down. So get the head scut out. At this point, I will pull the tongue. If the customer wants it, I'll keep it. If they don't, I'll toss it. And I will make my cut through the brisket, through the front plate. And then I'll take my Sawzall, cut that front plate so I'm able to get to the heart and everything. I want to take out everything I can gut-wise that the customer's going to keep, the heart, the tongue, things like that, and get it out of the animal so I'm not dealing with it during the actual gutting process. And what that also allows is once you have the animal hung, you're not pulling guts up and out. Literally, all you have to do is just pull straight down. You've already made your incision on that chest plate, so everything will just fall right out. So I will do all that finish work. I do not tie esophaguses on pigs just because their stomach contents are not as soupy as cows. With cows having 4 stomachs, as soon as you flip a cow upside down and cut the esophagus, it is just a fire hose of gross pouring out of the thing. That is why I tie the esophaguses when I'm dealing with cows. But with pigs, I don't do it. And that brings me around to the back end of the pig. So what I will do is I will put my mount on the tractor, hang the pig, but I will only bring it up. So basically the small of its back is off the cradle. The rest of the pig's still laying down. And I will cut around the bung, pull it out, tie it off. If it's a messy one, I'll take a paper towel or two and wrap it around the end. And then what I will do is I will take my Sawzall and I will split the pelvis. Again, it makes life easier in the long run. And it's nice to do it there. And what I have moved to start doing is basically make my gutting incision while it's still lying down. And that goes back to what I said before about it being laid down on the cradle. All the guts and intestines are pushed towards the back. So you can make your incision in the stomach and not have as much of a worry about slicing something. When you're still around like the pelvis and stuff like that, yeah, you still got it. There's still a bunch of intestines there that you got to worry about, but it's not as bad. So I'll make that first initial incision. I'll take my gut bucket and toss it in front of the tractor, essentially where the pig is going to be in front of it, and play a little game I like to call guts basketball. And I will lift the pig the rest of the way up and see if I put the bucket in the right spot, if I've loosened everything up enough. Sometimes, which is super cool to see, is if you've done enough to loosen all the guts and everything in the animal already, as soon as you lift it up, the gravity will just take the rest of it and just peel everything out. And I've had it happen once, and now I'm chasing that dragon. I did enough prep work that I raised that thing, put the bucket in the right spot, and the entire thing gutted itself. It just went shunk right into the bucket. And I was like, man, it's pretty awesome. So yeah, then I'll raise the pig the rest of the way up. If I don't win at gut basketball, I'll go in, um, pull the bung through the pelvis, and just kind of loosen everything up. Everything is attached basically to the spine. Like if you look at all of the sinew or all of the sinew and tissues that are keeping all of the guts and everything in, they're all going to run along the spine. Um, so you can just kind of, as soon as you get the bung pulled out, it'll start pulling everything else down, and you just got to work your way down. The liver is a little more interesting because pig liver is great. I love it. I've got a freezer full of it that I need to do something with. But the way to pull out a pig's liver is I will essentially get the intestines and the stomach at least hanging from the carcass. And when you do that, the liver in a pig is going to lay on top of the diaphragm. So right here, imagine me upside down. It's going to hang right here, and it's going to be half under all of the intestines and stuff that are hanging down off of it. So what I like to do is slip my hand in under the intestines and pull the liver to the side. And you're able to literally just pull it out. There might be a spot or two where you're going to have to cut, but you need to be careful because of the gallbladder. You are not going to want to eat that liver if you pop the gallbladder and get it all over the liver. So usually what I'll do is I'll just chunk that whole lobe off. If you want to get picky about it, you can lay it on the table and kind of carve it out so you have more liver to work with. It's you'll have enough liver. Like you're not having liver and onions every single night, and if you are, good gains, bro. And yes, Brian, bung equals butthole. That's the professional way to say it. I'm not just going to sit here and go, so then you stick your finger in its asshole and you pull it out. No, you get the bung, you bung the animal. You bastard. Look what you made me do to my show. Now it's just a place of filth. So anyway, I'll just take the whole lobe off that the gallbladder's on. It'll be all right. Yeah, Canadian Farmstead down here. I like to put a little liver and sausage. You absolutely can. I know plenty of people that do it. I actually have a boudin recipe that I would like to try, and that's why I've saved the pig livers I have. They've been in there for a year, which means that they're probably only good for sausage, but we will get there. So once you got the liver out, you can cut the diaphragm. You'll see it. It's just a small membrane. You're going to see a darker section of actual meat. That's going to be your skirt steak that's going to lay on the belly. So you're going to cut right on the outside of that, and you're going to see your hanger hanging in the middle. It's a piece of meat that's about that big. Yeah, for the customer, for not customers. I apologize. I'm exhausted. For the people that are listening to the podcast, it's about depending on the size of the pig, but the average is going to be about 4. Brian knows a little bit about that. 4-inch chunk of meat that connects that membrane to it. So what I like to do is I will cut I'll cut into that. I'll probably cut about a 1/2 inch off of it, and that will release the rest of the diaphragm and allow all the intestines and everything to fall into the bucket. Digger asks, do you mess with chitlings or tripe? I don't. I don't scald any of my pigs. So I've had questions about it, and to be honest, it's just not how I was trained. Up here, not a lot of people scald pigs. It's just a lot of extra work to get to. I will at some point. I'm gonna have to. I have a YouTube channel and a butcher shop. I'm going to have to scald a pig at one point, and it is going to be. I'm not going to be happy about it. And then tripe, I have not personally messed with making tripe myself. I love tripe. Tripe is absolutely delicious. And I think everyone should try it, but I have not personally tried to make it myself. At some point, I do want to make my own sausage casings. So that will be another interesting video and another messy video, but also something that's pretty cool. So we're gonna try and make that work at some point. So once you have the animal gutted, I'll usually come around and gut before I finish skinning. Just because, again, gravity's already working against me. So um, four is being really generous. Brian says, "I know I'm your friend. I'm going to be somewhat nice to you, even when I'm giving you a hard time." So yeah, gravity's working against you because you've already made your gutting incision. So it's just easier to walk over, pull the guts, get back to skinning. That's also because the way I hang my animals is I have the back of the animal towards the shop, because that is where I'm going to be spending most time. You can gut a pig in under a minute. I'm going to take a couple minutes to finish skinning it out. So again, trying to stay under that bucket as little as possible is huge. So once you get it gutted, I go back around and keep working on skinning out the hams. I'll get them down to about the sirloin, essentially the small of the back. I will get it to where everything's hanging off the animal. And what I'll do is I'll cut a V out of the hide that essentially encompasses the tail and the bung. It's not the actual bung, it's just the butthole, the skin. And I'll cut that off and have a perfect V right into the center of the pig. Then what I will do is I will start right at the forehead, take my knife, and just make an incision directly up the spine into that V. Be super careful. Do not put a ton of force into this, because if you do and that knife slips through, it's going in your face. I'm going to let it sit for a minute. Into your face. Do not do it super hard. Let the knife do the work. It goes back to things I've said 1,000 times in this show. Make sure your knife is insanely sharp, because it will be safer for you in the long run and you will have more control. So once I've made that incision, I don't try to go all the way to the spine with it. It's literally just the skin. Maybe a little bit into the fat. You're really not going to be able to not get it into the fat a little bit. And get it up there. Then what I'll do is I'll make sure that it's skunned down enough to where it's right on the loin, that the sides are kind of skunned in enough. And I'm going to be doing a video on this week. I have tried a couple different ways of doing this. I've bought vice clamps, and I've had my welder buddy weld beads into it to make it grippier, but that never really worked. And then I was going through the barn, and I found an old pair of, I don't even know how to describe them. They look medieval. Essentially what it is it looks like salad tongs, like the salad tongs that are connected with the weird handle, but like from hell. So it's two 2-inch blocks with spikes in it that fit together with two big handles on the bottom, so you can open it and close it and clamp it on the clamp it onto the meat and the hide, or not the meat, clamp it on the hide to be able to pull it. It's essentially for deer and stuff like that. I have been using it for pigs, and it is absolutely fantastic. Completely changed my life. And what you're going to do is clamp that down, or you can just use your bare hands. What I used to do was take my skinning knife, try not to get super close to the edge of the hide, try to get right in the middle, make a cut into the hide, not huge, but enough to be able to get your fingers interlocked through, and you're just going to pull it down. You're going to pull the hide all the way down, and it makes your life 1,000 times easier. And most of all, if it's a good fatty pig that's got good back fat on it that you can turn into lard, it just makes a better presentation, because you're just pulling the hide off. You're not sitting there with a skinning knife gouging everything out. So I go on either side of that, pull the hide down all the way. It usually goes to about the bottom of the shoulder. You could probably get to the head if you really try. With those hide pullers I have, I can get all the way down to the base of the neck, which is awesome. And then once you get to that, I usually won't use my skinning knife at this point. I'll pull my straight blade out and just kind of work around the skull. I'll pop the eye stays in, cut right around the eye, cut all the way down. Again, being super careful you're not hitting teeth, and just cut right through the snout. So at this point, you have a fully skinned and gutted whole pig. The next step is I just use a Sawzall with a 12-inch Diablo pruning blade. Those are the best blades I have found. If you can't find those and you're going to be using a Sawzall, the DeWalt multi-use blades aren't awful. And the Makita ones aren't bad either. The Milwaukee ones are really nice. The multi-use ones. But the Diablos are by far the best. They just make a real nice clean cut. I've been using these ones for a while. I'm kind of rotating through 3 of them. And they're holding up really well. Usually I will not cut through the entire head. I'll cut right around the base, or right about to once you get into the nose, and then I'll take a cleaver and finish cutting, because again, those teeth are no joke. They will screw up bandsaw blades. The owner of the slaughterhouse, the USDA facility I worked at, wouldn't take the well saw to it. And if you've ever seen a well saw, it's essentially a giant reciprocating saw. It's huge. And they wouldn't even take those blades to pig teeth. They would use a cleaver on those too. So it'll save your saw blades in the long run. And then at that point, you got a whole split pig that can go into the cooler. So, yeah, I hope that was Canadian Farmstead. I hope that helped you out a bit. It helped me out. Got me through another half hour of the podcast. Thanks, buddy. So we are coming up on an hour here. So I want to thank everyone who's listening and everyone who's watching. We are ramping stuff up. We're moving along. I've got another video that's got to come out on hopefully Monday. I'm going to get that one out. And it is going to be the beginning of my cut sheet series. I am doing an in-depth breakdown, and you can't see that. There it is. An in-depth breakdown on all of my cut sheets. Talking about cut sheets, what they're used for, why we use them, and just kind of help viewers and butchers alike kind of give us all a hand. I think that is the biggest complaint amongst people when it comes to getting their animals processed, is dealing with cut sheets and trying to figure that all out, especially if it is their first time. It's very confusing. So there's not a ton of cutting in this video. Actually, I don't think there's any cutting in this video. I basically have a whole pig carcass and I talk about what I'm doing. I talk about where everything is. I am going to correspond everything I talk about with pictures of the cuts that I am talking about of animals I've processed myself. So this one's going to take a bit. There's going to be a decent amount of editing, and it's a good thing because everyone knows how much I love editing. So that one's going to be a good one, but the first one's going to be on pork. We're going to do one on beef. I'm going to do one on venison as well during hunting season, because I think that one's a big one. That one's going to be a big one because the amount of people that I've dealt with personally who have said, I've never filled out a cut sheet for a deer. So there we go. So we're going to have some conversations about it. And I think it's going to be very interesting. I know I have Joe signed up for next week. We're going to talk about cut sheets. He just got his, so we're going to talk about his. I'm going to try and bribe Tiffany from Backyard Butchery to try and get on. She doesn't know that yet, so it's out on the internet. So, we are going to get that figured out and kind of do a butcher roundtable cut sheet conversation, which I'm sure will digress into madness as usual. And yeah, if you are watching this on YouTube and you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Helps me out a ton. We're boosting numbers. We're doing pretty good. I will admit I have been taking more time and dedicating it to TikTok just because it's been growing way faster. And it's also a lot easier to edit those videos because they're 15 seconds. But we have had, I think, I'm not going to look it up now because I'm going to start screaming at me. I think I am about, 40 away from 1,000 subscribers, which is awesome. I started TikTok 2 months ago, maybe. And I've been putting in the work trying to get the followers and subscribers. I say work. It's the darkest, most screwed up little videos you've ever seen. But whatever just weird country autism I have and able to link up movie quotes and scenes and stuff like that and have it be about butchering and stuff like that, it seems to be working out and people are enjoying it. So if you're not subscribed to me over on TikTok, go to subscribe to me over there. It is for everything. It is at Backwoods Butcher 603. So that is, again, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and we now have a Rumble. I have not checked it in a couple days. I know that it was syncing, like it was syncing to my YouTube, so my videos should start popping up on Rumble as well. And like I said, I am going to be trying making a more concerted effort to take more pictures and post them on Instagram. I know it is what it is, but we'll get there. Other than that, we've just got a crazy week. I got some good videos planned coming out for next week and the week after. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. And again, guys, I appreciate all you. We've probably had about an average of 5 people watching me ramble on the internet live with a wonky eye. I appreciate all of you guys. So, and everyone listening, just know you missed out on a wonky